It's Friday, 5th of December 2025, and here I'm looking at Rupert Lowe's X post because it seems he's launched a new party, the Great Yarmouth First Party. So that's going to have a limited outreach. But to me, it seems a pretty sensible thing to do, actually. Rather than starting a national party, you can start the other way around if you're an MP. So, and you can, well, the idea is you're representing your own community, but long term, it can become a national movement, national party. You know, the other way around. So I think this is very interesting. So this was announced yesterday. I didn't see it. That's amazing when you miss maybe one day of X or something. You might miss lots of stuff, and then other days nothing happens. But anyway, for those who don't know, I've set up a new local political party called Great Yarmouth First. I was elected by Great Yarmouth for Great Yarmouth. That has guided everything I've done now. New constituency polling has shown us on 44%, Labour on 17, Reform 16, Tory 13. So that's remarkable. I mean, he's got the Reform vote already, really. I mean, Great Yarmouth, I think it used to be a real Tory area, and then it became Reform probably, yeah. And now they're right behind, well, nearly half of them are behind me. And the other great thing about Rupert is I think he does polls all the time. He commissions polls, and that means you get stats. And I think stats is one of them things we don't really have a lot of you know, in our governments and political system. We get a lot of national polls, but we don't get polls. Well, you probably could break down who's voting what or whatever, but and also why, etc. But even the government don't seem to have enough stats and things, and I don't know if that's because they have them but don't release them, or because they want to hide them, basically, or is it they just don't have them? And it could be either, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I'm not anti-government or anything, but I think there's incompetence and waste, big time. And yeah, so onto this. Anyway, and somebody said, I think it was Carol Benjamin who founded the Lotus Eaters YouTube site, which is a very good YouTube channel. He's saying that Rupert probably makes about, he talks to Rupert a lot, he says he probably makes about £44,000 out of his X account. So this is the kind of thing that Rupert and that should be telling job centres. You need to tell the people to have their own X accounts and see if they can make money off it, because 44,000 is way beyond the average wage, and he's just making that on his. I mean, he's a big star. I mean, what's he got there? It doesn't tell you how many views he's got, but he's got 6.7 thousand likes. How many? I'll find out in a minute. Anyway, so let's see what else he's talking about. This shows that unapologetically patriotic politics has real support. Yeah, I'm really happy about that, but it's got a flip side to it as well, as we're seeing. We've got 5 independents. We've got the Aspire Party in East London. We've got the Red Bridge Independent Group in Redbridge, the council. It's going the other way. The Labour probably said will never happen or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, this shows that unapologetic patriotic politics has real support, particularly when it's mixed with local priorities for local people. We are going to fight every seat in the council elections next year in our area, and we are aiming to win every seat in our area. A different kind of politics is coming, and I don't think anybody in Westminster understands the power of it. Well, they never seem to do, actually. That's my impression. Labour probably didn't see the 5 independents coming, even though it seemed like, you're allowed to judge. In Britain, you're allowed to judge anything by behaviour patterns, predictive, apart from some things to do with humans. We're not allowed to do that at all. and we've got 5 independent MPs now. We're probably going to have a lot more out of the thingy. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I don't agree with the first past the post system in particular. I don't agree with. I think Rupert does, ironically. I think it's the most undemocratic type, but I don't believe. I want direct democracy, really, and this is a sort of kind of that, in a way. Yeah, let's see anyway. So there's his starting point. Yeah, that's pretty good. And here the great Dan Whitten has looked at the data. Maybe Rupert's given him the data, or it was just there to access. But Dan Whitten, he's got an excellent YouTube show every weekday. I would recommend around about 5 o'clock in the evening. Rupert Lowe has just launched his Great Yarmouth First party this week, but it's already polling at a mammoth 44% in the constituency, more than double the Tories, Labour and Reform UK. Tomorrow he appears on Tucker Carlson. And I think you really need to look at the underlying stats. This is what the Labour and Tories will look at, really. Yeah, if you look at Rupert Lowe's Great Yarmouth party, all 44%, female 43%, male 44%. So to have so many females, I mean, I know it is a sort of Tory area, it's probably an old area, but still that's pretty spectacular. I mean, look at female, you would expect females to vote left, but Labour are at 22%, Lib Dems 1%, Greens 7%. I mean, Greens are the new left, really. So that is incredible. What else we got here? 18 to 34, 60%. So people are always saying that the young will go for the left and they'll be pro one issue, the overarching issue, I would say, of our time, which started post-war. And Trump's just talked about it last week. But he's probably made the biggest statement on it since last week. I would say what Trump said last week is probably the most profound statement for Western civilization since the Second World War, really. Yeah, so here anyway, it's 60% amongst 18 to 34, amongst 35 to 44, it's 58%. It gets down to 32 for 45 to 54. 55 to 64, it's 31. 65 to 74, it's 60. And then the big surprise to me was 75 plus 11%. And they're still wanting Tories if they're over 75. I mean, you would think if anyone's seen how the country's changed, it would be the 75 plus year olds, It just goes to show how tribal voting, how thing is. Because if you look at Tory for all the other ones, I mean, 18 to 34, they've got zero. They've got 35 year olds, 12 and 45, 55, they've got 17, 65, 11. So looking back to Rupert again, so that's incredible. It shows that Rupert's big support with the local youth there. He's got more than half. So that's really good to see, because I would imagine, I mean, if you take under 20s or under 30s, people might hear the stats at the moment and think, well, that's another thing, the census, it was done in 2021, and we've had 3 or 4 Boris waves since then, so the census doesn't even make sense to do it every 10 years or whatever. You've got to do this every year, really. Maybe every 6 months. I mean, there must be some way they could do that nowadays, but anyway. I'm just looking at this, wait a minute. Yeah, and we've got, so I mean, if you look at under 20s, under 30s, people hear that the population is still 75%, still about 70% of what it used to be, and that's the 2021 census, so I would imagine that's right down. But under 20s, it's probably like you're nearing the 50% mark with how the country's changed. And we can't talk about it, if you're going to say good things about it, there's no problem, but you can't talk about it We don't live in a free speech country, really. Trump said a lot last week, and that makes it difficult for Keir Starmer and Thingy to hold the line on this policy, But he probably is still holding the line. Yeah, under 20s, you're probably nearing 50% mark, but so 18 to 34-year-olds, they're really at the front line of how the country's changing. And so in Great Yarmouth, 60% are saying we're going with Rupert's party. 35-year-olds, 58%, so that's really still high amongst these young people, the under 44s. Because you would expect them to be voting Green and Labour. I mean, on the 18-year-olds, 18 to 34, Labour have got 30%, so they were second there, but the Greens have only got 4%, and they're the new left, really. That's who I would have thought it would have been. Greens 30, Labour 4. Nobody else really in it. Reform 0. So that is incredible to me that it's young people there in particular that are voting for Rupert's party. And the over 75s aren't. And then amongst 2024 general election voters, 29% of Tory would vote for Rupert, 17% of Labour. That's quite big. Labour would get 50% of them now. They won 2024, but now they've only got half of Great Yarmouth. Although Tory Reform won there, though. Reform 54% would vote for Rupert, and the other 46 would keep with Reform. So it's going to get a lot from Reform. Other 7% and did not vote, 66%. So the ones that didn't vote, and the Tory vote in the general election last year fell from about 44% to 22%. So a lot of them would be coming back, probably voting Rupert's party. But I just find that fascinating, I mean, to me, polls are more important than MPs talking, giving their views, because that's actually what the public are thinking, basically. So I've just asked Grok here about the posts. You can check each post now of Grok to see if there's anything. He launched this party on December the 1st. I never heard anything about it. That's a surprise, because I watched Dan Wooten, so maybe I missed it. I don't know. To focus exclusively on local priorities, attracting 500 members within 24 hours. And the Post shares a Find Out Now poll of 121 weighted respondents. I mean, Find Out Now are the ones that usually, in a way, they're a sort of outlier. They always have Reform really high, Labour really low. Yesterday they had Labour at 14% in a national poll, which is their lowest in a poll since 1910. And personally, I think it's true, though, whereas other pollsters have them at Labour at 22%, 20%, and they've got Reform a bit lower, 27, whatever. I think it depends what type of methodology they're using. Personally, I think Find Out Now are probably more on the ball with this, but I don't know. That's just my bias. Find Out Now also have Green a lot higher than Labour. Green at the moment are in 18% with them or something, whereas with other pollsters are 10% or whatever. But I'm going with Find Out Now anyway. That's my bias. Don't know if that's why Rupert picked Find Out Now, but like I say, I'm biased towards them anyway. So there we go, 44% support. Local councillors have dismissed Lowe's criticisms of their performance as unfounded, but the party's ambition to contest and win every seat in 2026 elections. Alright, so there must be local elections there next year, so he's going to put his own little party there. I think that's a great idea, really. It's a starting point. I mean, I know he's friends with James McMurdoch, so maybe he would start his own independent party there, and they might affiliate, I don't know. But as I say, there's a flip side to this, because I think a lot of concentrated areas are going to go in a way that Labour said would never happen in a way. As I say, we've got the Aspire Party in East London. We've got the 5 independent MPs. We're going to have a lot more, say, in the Birmingham area, Bradford area. Yeah, but I think it needs to be done, really, because Labour and Tories, they need to be finished off, really. I mean, really, they should be done for treason, really. I mean, I'm just saying that as a sort of way of thinking, but I wouldn't really want them to be, but I don't know, the way things are going. This is a new experiment. We've never had a referendum on it. We didn't have a referendum just after the war on it, say in 1949. We've never had referendums at any point. Labour and Tory said vote for us and all will be okay, you know. It depends how you view it. Maybe it's the start of something really new, or maybe it's just a sort of cancer that started, you know, and at first nothing seems different, you know. But anyway, whatever your view is, you know. I've just asked Grok if it will become a national party, but it says no. Rupert Lowe has repeatedly and explicitly described it as a local political party created solely for Great Yarmouth, by Great Yarmouth, and focused only on the town's priorities. I mean, whatever Nigel chooses to do, Rupert, I mean, it is a genius idea in my opinion. Because whether it just stays that way or it becomes bigger across a national party, it's a good starting point. And it means he can stay in Parliament and do all the great work he does there, because he uses Parliament to the max, whereas all the others, you know, they're using it 50%, 40%. And by that, I mean, he gets petitions over the 100,000 line, asks lots of questions, he does freedom of information things. Yeah, he uses Parliament in the right way. And he says personally, he thinks the European Parliament was more useful than how Westminster's run. And he's just talking about logistically, I would say, I'd imagine. So that just goes to show you, I mean, our Parliament, they're really only there 2.5 days or something, if that. They're really only there to the Prime Minister's questions on a Wednesday. And a lot of them will probably go home after that, but I was elected by Great Yarmouth for Great Yarmouth. The party will fight every seat in the local council elections in the borough and aims to win control of the council. It exists because national parties, including Reform UK, from which he was expelled, have failed to put the constituency first. Media coverage confirms the same. The party will represent the needs of the town only and is deliberately non-national, Westminster focused. Yeah. Lowe already leads a separate organisation called Restore Britain, which I think is excellent. A national pressure group, a movement. Yeah, I'm totally in favour of that. They do petitions, they do polls, they have YouTube channels. Yeah, they're definite influencers, to me, in my opinion. Which is where he channels broader, patriotic, right-wing policy ideas. Great Yarmouth First is deliberately ring-fenced as purely local politics. Yeah, I mean, it's a good starting point anyway, so you don't know how it'll go, but I think it'll have great success there. I'm totally in favour of it. I mean, personally, I think every voter should be voting on one issue. There's one overarching issue. In a way, nothing else matters, in my opinion. So at the moment, you've got to Overton window vote, and that means voting reform at national level in council by-elections. If you're lucky enough to have a council by-election in the near future, vote reform. I would say especially if you care about women's rights or trans rights, things like that, in my opinion. I mean, I'm just thinking that way. Yeah, I'm using that as a motive thing for people to think about. Or you can think about your granddaughters, great-granddaughters, the kind of Britain they'll be brought up in. You know, I'm talking especially if you're young at the moment. But even for the young at the moment, Britain is not like what it was even 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Although maybe some parts of London, I think around about 1970s changed greatly, but even right about then it changed a lot. Yeah, so that's all for just now. Okay.